everybody. There looks like quite a few new people. So welcome to, my name is Kelly. I'm the plant-based kitchenista. So we've been doing these classes for probably 5, 6 years, maybe even longer than that. So we actually used to do a lot of them all in person here in Colorado. And then when, of course, COVID hit, we decided to go ahead and branch out. So we've been doing Zoom for about 2 years now. Fun. We have lots of fun, get to meet lots of people from all over the world, which is great. So I do hope you enjoy the class. So we are going to be doing, today is a creamy pasta primavera, which, primavera is, of course, it's all about vegetables and a little bit of pasta and all kinds of either sauces or just, just very plain. You can do it many different ways. And then we're going to do a rustic tomato and cucumber salad. Always try to figure out like, sometimes an entree and a dessert. And then we're going to have, so the creamy sauce is actually going to be a cashew sauce. And we'll talk a little bit about some substitutions. I'm really good about giving tips and tricks. So if you've got questions why we're going, or it's just something that's like, wow, why do you do that? Or what's a substitution? Just ask me. Just go ahead and use the chat and just go ahead and just, chat away with it and let me know. And then I'll tell you about like substitutions, what different things you can use, all those kind of things to make it a little different. Because I know that there's some individuals that don't like nuts. There's some that don't like tofu, all those different things. So always happy to help. And I'll show you all the different tips and tricks and things that I have. So we've got classes coming up through, let's see, so we're almost July tomorrow. So all the way through July, I'll probably in the next couple of days have classes all the way through August. So it's usually about every 2 weeks that we do these unless there's something special. Special means like Chef AJ, we just did a class with her a couple of weeks ago. We did the plant-based heroes and those were phenomenal. And we did a Greek like spiralized salad with that and it turned out really well, lots of fun. Chef AJ, of course, is always a hoot. So we love her to death. So that's what we're going to do tonight. So before I get started though, and I know Jerry's kind of checking in individuals, I wanted to go ahead and let him introduce himself because he's the man behind the camera, but he's also very highly involved in the plant-based world. So you want to come on up?
Yep.
And I'll kind of watch a little bit.
Hi, everybody. Jerry Casados, for those who don't know me. I'm a plant-based nutritionist. We've been plant-based now 15 years, over 15 years. I did it for health reasons of my own. Heart disease, all kinds of medications they put you on, all that. Lost 35 pounds. Also a Start Solution certified instructor for Dr. McDougall. You've heard of him. He does a program where he teaches the Start Solution and gets people well. Been doing it for almost 50 years now, so he's pretty amazing, him and his family. But any questions about nutrition, I'll be glad to answer. Our information I posted on the chat window there, some of it. So you can get hold of Kelley or I if you have any questions, or if you just like a free consultation, I'll be glad to help you out with nutrition, changing your diet, whatever you need to do. But yeah, I'm just here to eat the food actually. And, do the camera.
So do the camera and eat the food.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right, so also too, that just kind of reminds me a little bit too, if you've got anything, like if you're working on recipes, you've got maybe you're new to the plant-based world and you get some recipes that were things that you loved as a child or things that you loved as an adult, and you're trying to figure out how to make them plant-based, just always email me. So it's at Kelley, Kelley, at Plant Based Kitchen. I'm always happy to help. I just got a couple emails last week about, I mentioned it's a balsamic dressing, but one of our friends and stuff calls it a crack dressing because it's so addictive. And it's so good, and it's really a thick dressing that you can use and that type of thing. So she asked for a couple of the dressings and things because a lot of times it's hard to find dressings that don't have oil in them. So we are plant-based, no oil, before I actually get started cooking. So we only saute with 3 different things. So we've got vegetable stock or broth, which of course always have, my carton here, or you can always have your homemade, which is even better. And then water. So if you don't have vegetable broth or stock, you can always use water because that's handy at its sink as much as you need it. And then white wine, and white wine is pretty much only with tomato sauces. So if I do like a gnocchi sauce, like a tomato basil sauce on gnocchi, that's what I'll use, a white wine. But a lot of times don't use the white wine, mostly just the vegetable broth, stock, water. One thing I always do too when I'm starting to cook is when you're using the vegetable broth, you can cut it with water. So a lot of times that you'll find, like back in the old days, so this is like 15 years ago, 16 years ago, when we were cooking with oil. One of the things that you could do is, if you left it on the burner, you had it on low, it would simmer for a long time, and you could walk away, do some laundry, something like that, and come back, and your food was still okay as long as it wasn't on a high burner. Well, with vegetable broth and stuff, it burns off really quickly when you're cooking with it. So sorry, I got a dog that likes to bark every once in a while. So what you can do is put like if you say like I don't know, like a quarter cup of vegetable broth into something, do like a eighth of water and an eighth of vegetable broth, and it'll actually keep your vegetable broth and the simmering going a lot longer. So that's just a quick tip and trick to start out with. So what I want to do is I want to get the pasta going because that's one of the first things. So you can use spaghetti pasta, you can use penne, you can use all kinds of different ones. So I'm gonna do the farfalle. I love this stuff. I think it's pretty, and it looks like little bow ties. So they always call it the little bow tie pasta. Just for something different because we've done this with penne so many different times and spaghetti. It's just like I had this box in there and I'm like, let's do this. Let's be pretty. So this is a 16-ounce box, but I actually made enough vegetables, so I'm going to probably I only need 12 ounces for this recipe, so I'll dump out most of it, but I'll get that going. That way everything's ready. This is a really pretty one too, the little bow ties when you do like a macaroni and cheese. That's fun. Makes it look nice. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Use an induction burner. So a little bit of vegetable broth. And since I'm standing here, I won't cut it with water just because I'm watching it. She's older, so that is Penny. She's older, so tends to see things or thinks she sees things and starts barking. So Jerry's kind of trying to keep her a little quiet. All right, so if you're following along with the recipes, so one of the things that we're doing is you're going to see the first thing that's on there is the soaking the cashews, which I actually last night started soaking my cashews. But what's really nice about cashews, or if you use like almonds or walnuts or whatever you decide to use, you can use any kind of the different nuts. One of the things that you can do, let me just put that on pause real quick. One of the things that you can do with that is you can, soak them overnight or soak them for a few hours. But if you all of a sudden are like, gosh, I'd really like that, that creamy pasta Primavera, but I forgot to soak my nuts, then what you're going to go ahead and do is you're going to put some boiling water on it. And then you can just let them set for 15, 20 minutes and they'll break down quite a bit. Or you can actually, and I know some people don't like using microwaves, but you can put the water in there and then put it in the microwave for like a minute or so and then just let it set for a little bit. And then that way your nuts will get soft, and that's what you want, so that when you're getting things, when you're even with a high-speed blender like a Vitamix or a Blendtec, it still gives you that really nice creamy texture that you're looking for without sitting there and letting your Vitamix go for 4 or 5 minutes because it's not breaking down the cashews like you'd want. So I just had those soaking already, but I'm not going to do the sauce until almost the very end. So I'm going to switch the recipe around just a little bit. All right, so we got this started. All right, so I'm going to we're going to start some of the vegetables first. So we're going to do, if you're following along, we're going to add the onion. So I have red onion. I just did them in like little half moon shapes. You could do them in large dices, whatever you like to do, whatever your favorite style. You don't have to use red onion. If you go into the refrigerator, same thing. You go in and you're like, wow, I just would like some pasta Primavera or something like that, and you don't have red onions, use the yellow, use the white, whatever you'd like to do. You can even actually use scallions. So get those in there. And then we're gonna add the rest of the vegetables. So just making sure, I always have to go back to the recipe because when I'm doing it on my own, I'm just adding things and I'm just, going along and stuff. But when I'm doing a class, I wanna make sure that I'm following along so it makes it a little bit easier. So then carrots. So I actually did 2 large carrots just because we like the carrots in there. And all I did is just, of course, just slice them down like you're getting ready to do like carrot sticks. But then you just make them into these little matchsticks. So you've got the nice little size of matchsticks. They actually cook up really well. So we're going to get those in there. I figure Jerry won't complain. The more veggies I put in something, the better off it is. So we're always good with that. All right, and then then we're going to add the red bell pepper. So red bell pepper, I just did almost the same thing. I did the matchsticks. So just the nice sizes. I did the top and the bottom and did everything with it just to make sure that I have the red bell pepper. But if you don't have red, you could use those little sweet mini peppers. Those are really good. You could actually roast them up and put them in here too, and that'd give a whole different flavor profile, which is really good. Or you could use like the green, the yellows, the oranges. You could use like different colors if you have some left over. It's all up to you. The more color you add, the prettier it is. All right, let's get the carrot, red bell pepper, and then we're going to add the broccoli. I'm going to add that here in just a second because I'm going to give a good stir. The nice thing about, when a lot of people are like, oh, the cooking with being plant-based. There's so much, you know, cooking and chopping and things like that that you need to do. Of course, you're going to have to do cooking, but you can buy things that are already made up. But the nice thing about chopping anymore is there's so many things that are made up already that you can buy. So you could buy the onions that are already chopped, the carrots, you know, you can buy them in the little waffle, or you could buy the baby carrots and just slice them in half. And like bell peppers are already chopped up. So pretty much anything you want anymore in all these stores is available, which is really nice if you don't like all that chopping. They always say that, they say in classes, and a lot of times you'll hear it from chefs, that most things, the one thing that keeps people from cooking is usually the chopping, like the preparation and everything like that. So one thing that's kind of fun also is just to prep it the night before. So just like what I did here, this is all prep the night before. Put some, you know, put it on. I actually put them on like I'll just show you here. You know, you just put it on like a baking sheet like this, put some plastic wrap, and then everything's all ready to go. So it looks like Monica's cooking along with us in the kitchen. Nice. Thank you. Yeah, nice, easy recipes to be able to go through. Sometimes there's recipes that I'll do that are many, many different steps, like the plant-based meatloaf or those type of things. But I try to find recipes that are fast and easy, but good. So it's one of those ones that you'll want to keep making again and again. But it's one of those ones that you can also get going fast, which is really nice. And you can do it with the whole family. So one of the things when you're cooking the vegetables is you want to make sure that they don't go soft. You want to have some of that crispness, that's hard to say, crispness in that, because you want to make sure that when you're like biting into it, you get the taste of the, you know, you don't have like your zucchini that's all it's left. Like if you've ever put zucchini in a soup and really cooked it, you'll have just the rind that's left. So you want to have those nice flavors, and when you bite into it, it gives you that really nice mouthfeel. One of the other things that you can do when you're doing this recipe is you can actually add roasted garlic. So, you know, you've got regular garlic that you get out. You can just, you know, have it already made in the jars. You can, you know, chop up your own garlic. But if you wanted to change the recipe just a little bit, go ahead and take some of the what am I trying to say? The garlic cloves and stuff, and you just roast them up in the oven. So like 350 an hour, depending on your oven. And then you've got this really nice roasted garlic, and you just chop it up and put it in here. It gives a really different flavor profile. So that's another way to kind of change up this recipe. But think about it now, we're in the summertime, so you are, you know, you're in the prime of all kinds of vegetables. So you could do like yellow squash, you could do eggplant, you could do, you know, anything and everything that's out there, you know, cauliflower, whatever your favorite vegetables are. This is probably the most like a base recipe is the way I would put it. But you could just keep adding more vegetables. And what's fun with something like this, and I do the same thing with stir fry, it's like, all right, I've got things that I know I need to make, and I'll do it with soups too. It's like my carrots have been in there a little bit, my cauliflower is just getting to that point, you know, zucchini, all those kind of things. I'll just chop them all up and either put them like a soup, or I'll do a stir fry. And this back here is a cast iron stir fry, which is a wok things, and it's absolutely fabulous. I got it off of QVC. So Jeffrey Zakarian, who's one of the well-known chef, was selling these. And that one, if you've not tried a cast iron wok, is phenomenal. It cooks up so fast, and it keeps everything really crisp. So I'll just throw, you know, tons and tons of vegetables in there, and I'll pile it up to, you know, like probably an inch above, and then we'll eat on it for a couple days. Or you could do a pasta primavera. There's many different ways to do this. So just do a quick test. Ah, wonderful. So we're using up chopped vegetables that we had for the week: carrots, peppers, fava beans, and squash. Wonderful. Add as much as you want. You could also, if you wanted to add, like, so we got the fresh tomatoes. Let's just say you don't have fresh tomatoes. You could actually add the canned tomatoes. And you could even switch it up and add some of the fire roasted tomatoes. I mean, so there's so many different things that you can do. Mushrooms, that's another thing that you could put in the recipe. And if you didn't know, you can freeze mushrooms. So if you get a whole box of mushrooms and you end up using like maybe part of them, you can freeze the rest. They're not, of course, good in like salads or anything like that, But if you let them thaw for just a little bit, you can chop them up, put them in sauces, put them in your, your stir fries and stuff, and they hold up really well. So I'm going to add the broccoli. So these are just broccoli florets. And of course, you can buy the broccoli or you can already buy the florets too. That's another thing that is all ready to go. So I'll just show real quick what it's starting to look like. You see? So it just looks like a bunch of vegetables being sauteed up. If for some reason when you're cooking and it seems to be like the moisture level seems to be a little low, just add a little bit more vegetable broth or stock or water. One thing you want to watch with broccoli is you want to make sure that you don't overcook broccoli, because to me there's like nothing worse when you get a piece of broccoli and it just like crumbles in your mouth. So you want to make sure you watch this and kind of test it a little bit. But usually when it starts getting a really bright green is when you know that it's ready. It's that kind of al dente stage, which is really good. Oh my gosh, yeah. So Judy asking, is sun-dried tomatoes okay to add? Yes. There's two different types of flavors of sun-dried tomatoes. There's actually more than that, but most stores that you'll see are just the regular sun-dried tomatoes. So a lot of times what you want to do is you want to soak them a little bit. So while you're getting the sauce ready, just soak your sun-dried tomatoes, because then it plumps them up, which is really good. Then there's also the smoked sun-dried tomatoes. If you haven't tried those, they're wonderful. I put those a lot of times I have like an Italian lentil soup that was made at a restaurant that was here in Colorado, and the smoked is the best stuff in the world. But yeah, sun-dried tomatoes would be absolutely wonderful here too. Great, let me check pasta. Get my pasta fork spoon out. Yeah, they're not done yet. We're good. That's the other thing you don't want to overcook is your pasta. It's nothing worse than when you get something and it's just mush. I'm gonna add just a little bit more vegetable broth. Okay, well, that's sauteing a little bit. Let's grab the blender. Actually, let's grab the salad. Because the salad, the longer, because it's like when you've got like tomatoes and cucumbers, the longer it sits in the dressings, the better it is. So we're going to get that kind of going too. So we're going to kind of switch around a little bit. Because I want to make that sauce like right when everything's ready and be able to pour that sauce right in. So do a quick stir as I'm still got a minute or two. All right, so bowl. So we've got all the different things. So I've got tomatoes. You can, if you've got regular tomatoes and you want to be able to core them, you can do that. But these are these little tiny, they're actually called like summer poppers, I think it was in the store. And they're really good and sweet. So those, I just cut them in half, ready to go. This recipe has a little bit of sweetness, and then it has more of that, like it has like the umami, so it has like a little bit of the vinegar, all those type of flavors in it. So one of the things that to make it just a little bit sweet is a little bit of brown sugar. If you don't want to use brown sugar in it, and it's just a tiny little pinch, you could use like date paste, you could use monk fruit, you could do that, or you can completely leave it out. You definitely don't have to worry about putting that in if you don't want to. It's just a little bit different, adds a little bit different flavor profile. So I just added just a teeny little bit. Stir that up. All right, then we've got the English cucumber. So the English cucumber, of course, looks like I spilled a little bit of vegetable broth. But the English cucumber is the one, so you've got the regular cucumbers, and then you've got the English cucumber, which are really usually pretty long, and they're usually about this big around. I've seen some that are a little bit larger. And a lot of people really love the English cucumber because you don't have the seeds. So if you're trying to make something where you don't want all the cucumber seeds and stuff, the English cucumber is a really way to do that. And I know there's like Persian cucumbers and a whole bunch of different ones out there. So try your favorite, and if you can't find even the English or anything else, then just use the regular. And what you can do is you can take a spoon and kind of scoop out the middle of it because that's what gets soggy. And then just use the regular part of the other cucumbers. So that's just going to go in. This one was probably about this long and about this big around is what we got at the store. All right, so just kind of a quick stir. That's doing good. Now you got everything going, so you got to check everything at once. Still got a little bit of ways to go. All right, and then we've got red onion. So nice that, you know, you cut up red onion once. So these are just the same thing, little half moons. You could do large dices. You could do whatever kind of style or flavor that you would like. And what I like about like the red onion that's in here is the color. This is a really pretty dish as I throw everything around on the, it's a pretty dish to start with. You've got the reds and the green, almost looks like Christmas, and then you got the purples in there, which is really pretty. You could also add scallions, kind of different things in there. All right, so we've got in there, so you can put in Italian parsley, you can put in cilantro, those are two things optional. What I'm gonna do is change it up just a little bit. I'm gonna do basil, just because it's more of a kind of an Italian type of a night. And then I have microgreens. So microgreens, the ones we have here are the pea. They're really popular in all your markets right now, and they're really good for you. So they're good for your gut, which is really nice. And you can get like my favorite, truthfully, is sunflower microgreens, but there's like wasabi, there's radish, there's all kinds of different ones. These are just the regular pea that you can get into the store. So that's on low now, so we're good with that. So basil, you can tear it, which is really nice. So if you just want big chunks of basil, or you can grab it, just get the stem off there. And what I'll do is I'll usually take like a large leaf like this, and then you put the smaller leaves, just kind of layer it a little bit. Don't need all of that. So layer it, and then what I'll do is I'll just roll it up. Roll it up for the long way, so it looks like this. And then you do a nice little, what they call is a chiffonade cut. So all you're doing is you're doing small little knife cuts all the way down. So just kind of grab your knife, protect your fingers. Remember, always do that. Chiffonade is just really pretty. And what it does is it gives like little ribbons, nice pieces of basil. So you just kind of open them back up like that. And put them into your salad. Or pasta. That's what I'm going to be doing with I'm going to use, since I end up with a whole bunch of basil, I'm actually going to put it into the pasta also, just to add that extra flavor. Okay. Let's just kind of give it a little bit of a stir. If you've got your onions that stick together, just pull them apart. Check the pasta. I know it was getting close. All right, that was good. I'm going to drain it really quick. Pull the basil up there. Actually, I'll let it sit for just a few minutes because I'm almost ready for it. So microgreens have higher concentration of antioxidants, other veggies, yes. Just watched on Chef AJ's guest from Perfect Foods who has a sprout farm in New York. Made me want to start. I know. There's a whole bunch of farms now around that do the microgreens and the sprout farms and stuff. If I had the space, I agree. I would do it just because the flavor of them, especially like the sunflower and stuff, are phenomenal, and they're so good for you. And you can put them in everything. I mean, we do them on, we do them on burgers, we put them in salads, we put them in, pasta Primavera, we do it in everything. So, all right, so this is just ready to go. So we're gonna make the dressing, simple dressing. So we've got vegetable broth or stock. We have red wine vinegar. We have ground black pepper. A little bit. Nothing better than fresh pepper. We have sea salt. So you're noticing stuff that I'm not putting any salt in anything. Jerry doesn't like salt, so what I do is if I'm going to put salt on something, I just put it on the table and then I can help myself. So you'll see it'll say like optional or go ahead and add it. That is completely up to you. And one thing that I always say when I'm making recipes too, when I say something like a teaspoon of oregano, go by what's your flavor thing. So start low. So start like 1/8 of a teaspoon first, taste it, and then see if you like it or you want to add some more, because it's always easy to add more type of spices than it is to take away. Once you put them in there, especially like cumin, oregano, and all these spices, you can't take them out, and it ruins the dishes. I hear more times and stuff about dishes that are ruined because of the amount of spices that we're putting in. Like things, I think for some reason, a lot of people think that plant-based needs to be overspiced, and it doesn't. It just ruins it. So then we've got 2 cloves of garlic, so just regular garlic. Grab my spoon. This is just regular minced garlic. And then I have a teaspoon of agave. So if you want to use agave, you could use, so agave, you could do like monk fruit, you could do date paste. There's all kinds of different sweeteners that you could do out there. Just get that out of the little dish. And the nice thing about it too is agave gives a little bit of that sweetness, but it's also a binder. So it helps, like if you've got things that are like balsamics and things like that that you're trying to hold a little bit more together on a salad, the agave and stuff will actually help that do that. And then the teaspoon of dried oregano. So like I said, start low, start like with 1/8, and then go up. And then mark your recipe of what you like. Because I might like a teaspoon, you might like a half. All right, we're going to pour this on. So taste-wise, it's got, the red wine vinegar definitely comes through. The vegetable broth, you really don't taste that at all, but I've got a little bit of the acid from the vinegar, almost like you've got add a little bit of a lemon, which always talk about cooking shows that add the acid, don't forget the acid, don't forget the salt. So it's got that. Get a little bit of the oregano, but it really doesn't, the oregano hasn't soaked up too much just yet, unless you bite into it, and then a little bit of sweetness from the agave. So the sweetness and kind of like the vinegars and things like that are really going to bring out the flavors of the cucumbers and tomatoes and onions. So just do that. Easy peasy. Now on the recipe it says go ahead and, especially if you've made this like the day before, as I dump everything out on the counter. So if you made it the day before, you could put saran wrap on it, put it in the refrigerator, let it soak, kind of shake it up a little bit to make sure you get the dressing on it, or you can go ahead and just let it sit on the counter for a couple hours. So this one I'm just going to put to the side. It is all ready to go. Wonderful summer vegetables. Okay, put that there. Get this out of the way. All right, so move the greens over. Okay, so we have all the vegetables, so let me show you what they look like. So you'll notice that the broccoli is really bright. So it's a really bright green. That's what you want because it still has a little bit of that crunch to it, but not where it's soft and mushy. Nothing worse than Jerry and I have gone to restaurants and you order like steamed broccoli and it's mush. Nothing worse. Okay, sauce. Bring over the Vitamix. Long as you saw, long as you don't, like a lot of people say, ooh, don't want to do a Vitamix. Vitamixes have gotten really inexpensive here lately, or at least the last couple years, which is really nice. So they're a lot more affordable. But if you don't, if you have a blend tech, those work well. But if you have any other type of blender, just make sure you soak your cashews and really soak them for a little while and stuff, and then you'll be able to blend them up. So I've seen even, like smaller, like KitchenAid blenders and things be able to give you that nice creamy sauce. So cashews, if you don't want to use cashews because you're like anti-nut, don't want to do it, or got like heart disease and you're really trying to stay away from them, you could do silken tofu. So I've got on my, so let's look at the recipe. So I've got, what did I say over here? It's hard to read. 3/4 cup raw cashews. So if you're going to do that, then I would do the 3/4 cup of the silken tofu. Or you could actually, if you wanted to change it up a little bit more and you're saying, I don't want to do tofu and I don't want to do nuts, you could do cannellini white beans. So you're pretty much about 3/4 of a can of the cannellini white beans, drain it off, And then that way you can actually use those too. And that'll give you a nice, like a creaminess, but not have either the nuts or the tofu. Yeah, so recipes. So recipes and stuff are online. So if you're on the Meetup site, you can actually go and you can download the recipes. It's on a Google site, so they're all ready for that. Vitamix refurbished online for half price. Had it 3 years, no problem. That's actually, okay, that's cool. That's, I would say that Vitamixes, I mean, they seem to last forever. So this one, it's actually, I'll say it's kind of been through the war. We were at when we did our summit 3 or 4 years ago, the lid was still in it, and I'll show you the lid because you'll laugh. Because a lot of times I think people think that chefs have all the fancy equipment and stuff. This is the lid that was on it, and it was inside of it, so it broke the side, but it didn't break through the side. So I got to get ready to replace it. I just keep forgetting to do it, and you can replace just the blender part if you want, but I'm like, well, it still works, so I do it. I need to get my other one. I have one downstairs that's a white one, but I'm like, doesn't have to be fancy. All right, so we've got the cashews that have been soaking. So I'm going to use, instead of adding extra water or anything like their different water, I'm just going to use the water that I've been soaking in because that's got all the cashew yumminess in it. Get all those out. All right. Then we've got, oh, I forgot the lemon juice. Let me grab my lemon juice and I'll show you. Missed something on my recipe. So lemon juice. So Santa Cruz, which is always in where your juices are, the jarred juices like this, you can get the Santa Cruz, and there's a pure lemon juice and a pure lime juice. So it's really nice that, without having to keep the limes and the lemons that will go bad on you, is to be able to keep this in the refrigerator of lime and lemon and be able to use it, which is really nice. So, and it tastes good. It's not like the old days remember when you used to get it looked like a little green lime and a little yellow lemon, then it tasted fake. This doesn't. This smells just like lemons and tastes just like lemons. Okay, so I got a little bit, so I'm just going to kind of eyeball it a little bit. That to the side. All right, and then you can put your salt in if you want to. I'm going to do some ground black pepper. These are regular just black peppercorns. Then we've got the garlic, so I'm going to add the garlic into it. If it doesn't come out, of course, the handy dandy spoon. Lots of little spoons that you end up using for this, but that's okay. Then you've got, pull the spoon back, onion powder. You could also add garlic powder if you wanted to at this stage. But you're also going to have a lot of garlic in it, so don't really need it. And then that is pretty much it because don't need any more of the brown sugar. So let me go ahead and put the lid on. I'm going to use the tamper on it just so that if I need to, it's ready to go. You want to let it go for a minute or two just so you get it really creamy. Check it really quick. Looking creamy, but of course always want to taste it to see if you've got the right consistency but also the right flavors. That's good. Very creamy. I'll show you. Let me just stop this here. So creaminess. Almost like a creamy foam, a little bit, with the cashews. But like I said, you could use, if you wanted to, you could actually use almonds. You can use, like different, like walnuts, because I know some people like making walnut sauces. But then, of course, you could always use tofu, or you could use the cannellini white beans. So cannellini white beans are that good substitution where you're getting the whole foods without having so much the nuts or the tofu. All right, let me unplug this, get this out of the way. All right, so let's get some basil. Oh, I gotta finish up this. Let me do this first. It's easy to get distracted, even me. All right, so we've got this going. So you've got your softer vegetables that you're gonna wanna add here towards the end, because if you cook zucchini too long, I don't know if you've ever had it in a soup, and you cook it down and you've got it in a great vegetable soup, you'll end up like this whole middle part, this whole like the kind of the light green here will go away, and you'll pretty much have only the rinds left. So you just wanna make sure you give it a nice saute, but not necessarily where you're cooking it to where it just becomes mush. So we'll go ahead and add zucchini in. And this was 2 medium zucchinis. I just cut them, cut it down the middle and then cut it into little half moons. But you could dice it, you could change the whole look and feel of this. You could dice all these different vegetables up, or you can leave them more like chunks like what I'm doing here. And while I'm kind of sitting here, do a little stir. This is something too that when you make something like this, you can put this into like a mason jar, or if you've got glass dishes with nice lids on them, that's really fun and stuff that you could put these in and make little, like, let me show you real quick. You can buy, I have a lot of mason jars, but I've gotten away from using all the metal lids. The reason why is the metal tends to kind of oxidize around the side, and a lot of times you'll get that metal flavoring, unless you're doing canning for the first time. So I went to these little plastic lids that you can get on Amazon, and they'll give you big packs of them, and they're all kinds of, like, you can do white, black, you can do multicolor. The multicolor is really fun when you got it in the kitchen, but you could put like the salad if you have it left over or you made it the day before into these cute little jars like this, and put the lids on, and then you put them in the fridge, and you can have 4 or 5 of them depending on how much you make, and then you can just pull it out and be like, there's lunch, and you can take it with you. Love the little plastic lids. They're the best. I do that a lot as far as making things up. So doing like a lot of meal prep and making things ahead of time, or making double the recipe. And then I'll put everything inside of their fridge. And so Jerry then can, like Jerry and I and stuff during the week and lunches and things like that, it's all ready to go. So my little summer poppers, add those in. I'll show you this really quick. You don't want to do too long with the actual tomatoes, because you want that freshness. You want them to be like when you're biting into it, it just pops in your mouth. That's what makes it really good. So there is just all the vegetables. That's a huge pan of just vegetables that you can eat. You can sit here with just like, while you're cooking with a fork. Nobody will tell. All right, while that's sauteing up for a second, let's grab some basil. One thing, if you get something like this, so you've got this basil here, and then you've got, and you're like, oh, I've got all this basil left. You can freeze basil. So just put it in little baggies. I usually just do it like one baggie, look at the sandwich size. And of course I always write on the side what it is, because sometimes you're like, is this basil or is this spinach? And I'll just put them in and I'll freeze it. Just take the stems off and then freeze it, and then you can have basil all year long. So it's really good as far as like putting it into soups or sauces or any of those type of things. It's really nice. And then what you do is like when it's in the baggie, you just crunch it up, put it into whatever you're trying to make. I use mason jars for everything. Love it. Yes. I do too. I bought like every size. So I have, this one's not a mason jar. I'll just show you. I have like this size. And this was, and you can tell that this was really popular. So this was a millet granola with bran flakes. And so we had it all mixed up together. So it's like a whole big jar of cereal that's kept for a long time. And then I have, the little tiny mason jars, like these types of sizes, if you're gonna do some hummus or something, to the bigger ones. So all different sizes. And I love, and like I said, pretty much you buy like 1 or 2 sizes of lids of the plastic ones and you're set. So I'm gonna do the same thing, just a quick little chiffonade. You can actually just Rip it if you want to. The what? You want to read the question to me? Oh, summer poppers. Those are the actual, thank you for that. Those summer poppers are different. They're like different tomatoes you can get in the stores. So of course, if you're growing your own, fabulous, best thing in the world. But summer poppers and stuff are just like little tomatoes, and they'll call them, like they get different names on them, but they're just little round tomatoes, and they're usually really red and still on the stem, and the stem looks good. It's not all dried out. And I've got them like at Natural Grocers, Whole Foods, and they're just really, really sweet. But they'll call them like summer poppers or those type of things. All right, so there's everything ready. Got all the vegetables. We've got the basil in. Smells wonderful. Now comes the sauce. Let me just grab a spatula, make it a little easier on me. So I'm going to pour in about half the sauce right now, just to mix it up and try it. You may find you want a little bit of sauce, and you may find that you want a whole bunch of sauce. Peppers are amazing, yes. Peppers are amazing, like those sweet little mini peppers are so good. Anything that's fresh and the tomatoes and things like that we can get in the summertime, love it. Microgreens, I agree, would love to have a farm with microgreens. You could just sit there and pull off the microgreens. A little bit more. So depending on how much sauce you want and how saucy you do want it, when I add the actual pasta in, that's going to make the difference. You may end up having sauce left over. All right, so pasta. Isn't that cute, the little the bow tie? Okay, do part of the pasta. It's like when you're making cookies or something. You kind of do part of it, you stir it up, cakes, make sure you've got everything added. And then keep adding more. And not overflow your dish. That's the other thing. More pasta now, and then I'll show you guys what it's starting to look like. It is. Oh, as I dump it out. Yeah, so we always use like the whole grain, all those type of the pastas like that. Whole wheat, whole grain. You can get like Barilla. Barilla is a really popular one. There's all kinds of different brands. There's all kinds of like lentil pastas now. Back when they first came out with the gluten-free pastas, and you'd put them and you boil them and you do them like the 2 or 3 minutes. And then of course what ended up happening is the minute you got the 2 to 3 minutes, you would pull it out and you'd shake it, and then all of a sudden it was just like mush. There's lentil corn ones and things like that now that are so good. They've really improved all the gluten-free pastas. How much do you think Jerry will have? Lots. Jerry will eat a big plate tonight, and then the first thing he'll be like, try to be at the fridge the first thing tomorrow, and eat it tomorrow too. Sometimes I've seen him do lunch. He'll have breakfast like at 6, and he'll have lunch at 10:30. Okay. All right, just add a little bit more. If you end up getting some of the sauce that's like stuck in the bottom, a little hard to get out, you can always add just a little bit of water or vegetable broth, and then just run your blender just a little bit, and it'll get everything out. So I'm just trying to get the last little bit. I decided I wanted to have it saucy tonight. Sometimes, what is it? Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you feel like a lot of sauce, sometimes you don't. So tonight, kind of cold, 70-degree weather. Cannellini beans. Okay, so to use the cannellini beans as a sauce, do you just blend all the ingredients the same? Yes. you do the exact same way. So you're gonna drain your cannellini beans, or actually what you can do, if you've got the can and you've got the no salt, low salt, you could actually just use the juice from the cannellini beans and then just use that as instead of the water, because it's going to give you more flavor, and then add all the ingredients and blend it up. It'll be really good. Okay, so let's add some black pepper, and I'm going to show you here, and then I'm going to put it into a dish. I also said you can decorate it with red pepper flakes. We love red pepper flakes. If you don't, leave them out. All right, I gotta do a taste. Jerry's like, I want to taste it. That's really good. Yum. I would still add red pepper flakes, but good. Really good. Okay. Dishes. All right, let's do the salad in this one. And of course, this is not something you have to do. If we were home and not doing a cooking class, this would be the bowl I'd use. And if you don't want like all the vinegar dressing and things that's at the bottom, just feel free to always just drain it out. But it's so pretty. All right, we'll just do a couple little microgreens. Take off a little bit of the ends. Okay. The one thing, so guys didn't catch me. Italian seasoning. I forgot the Italian seasoning. I knew there was something missing, so I'm just going to add it in now. So no harm, no foul. Just go ahead and stir it in. That gives it more of the Italian flavor, of course, that we're looking for. If you don't like Italian seasoning, which of course is like basil, oregano, all those type of things, then just leave it out. It is, truthfully, I tasted it, and it was fabulous. But I saw it sitting there, I'm like, oh, got that. Okay. Now, let's get this dished out. Doesn't that look pretty? All right, let's turn this off real quick. Don't need the burner on anymore. Induction burners are wonderful, especially if you're in a hot climate, because I heard some of you guys were talking about that, 100-degree weather. You could actually heat up an induction burner and it doesn't heat up your house, and you could pretty much make anything you want on it. And the nice thing about it, even though I'm touching the side of the pan, I could actually touch this. It's good. I made too much for the bowl, but we are going to try get as much as we can in here. They're so pretty. Oops, as I'm spilling it everywhere. Normal, Jerry would be on this side of the cabinet and be picking up this, helping out. Like no waste. All the pretty stuff ends up at the bottom, so I'm trying to make sure I get all the pretty out. Get all the broccoli, the zucchini, the tomatoes. A couple more spoonfuls. So Monica and family, how you guys doing? Good? Dinner almost ready? Good. All right.
Almost ready.
Yay. You have to write on the meetup site if you guys like it. Okay, so microgreens. You could use, you can use parsley, you can use, more basil, whatever you'd like to be able to do. I'm just going to use the microgreens because they're good for the gut. I'll leave those to the side because you can eat the stems. All right, so we are just a little bit early, which is good because it'll show you that actually you can make things so fast. We're gonna actually add bread to it. So I was just gonna show you one of the breads that, that we can get. So this one's a Sprouts one, but there is like Udi's breads that are out there. And so they're starting to make breads now where they're really making sure that there's no like oils and things like that in it. So like this one here, I have to read. It's called Seedsational. This is by Sprouts. So it pretty much just is like your seeds, and it has like, so it has sunflower seeds, sesame seeds, poppy seeds, pumpkin seeds, because it's seedsational. And then you have your whole wheat flour, all that. So that's all pretty much the ingredients that are in it. And you can tell that Jerry decided to try it out earlier. So there's a chunk missing. But the really nice thing about it is you can see that it's, it's got all these different seeds on it. And to heat that up and, put a little bit of agave on it, or just some garlic powder or something like that, add that into this dish, nothing better. So that's dinner tonight. It's definitely the pasta night. All right, so we have, let me grab them so I can show you guys. And I am serious about it. If you've got recipes out there, you want to have them switched into, plant-based, or, what's some different substitutions. I love giving tips and tricks about that. That's probably one of my most favorite things to do. So always happy to help. Yep, so definitely go to my website. So my website, you can get all kinds of different videos. I've walked through a lot of different ingredients. Happy to tell you what you can freeze, don't freeze, how to do meal prep, how to do, all those kind of different things. So always happy to help, because it's about building a community. So a community of health and wellness, and us living to be like whatever we want to live to. So here you go. Here is the tomato cucumber salad. Like I said, you could take the dressing if you didn't want it to have it on there, and it has the red onions, and it is just, it smells. You can just, the smell is phenomenal. And then we have the creamy pasta Primavera. So now I get both hands. This takes, I'm very clumsy, so I gotta be careful. So there we go. So there is dinner tonight, other than the bread. So we got the creamy pasta Primavera and the tomato cucumber salad. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys, oh, look at that. I was looking at, that looks wonderful. I was just looking at the video. Looks good, guys. Monica's family. Congratulations. Love it. Love that you're cooking with the family. All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoy. We definitely have a bunch of things coming up. We've got many fun recipes. We're going to be doing some dumplings and all kinds of different things over the next couple months. So, oh, what are we doing? Tavern burgers. Yeah, we're going to do burgers and homemade barbecue baked beans, which are nothing better than having that. So we will join you next time. The tavern burgers is something you can freeze, make up a lot. I always keep veggie burgers on hand for Jerry. He's probably got about 30 of them in the refrigerator, or not the refrigerator, but the freezer right now, so he can pull them out, eat them all day long. We might add some polenta fries to that, which is really fun and easy to do. So join me in 2 weeks. I'll see you guys soon, but manja, eat. It's all good for you. So love you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, she's saying thank you too.